We live in a world ruled by tyranny, where knowledge is suppressed and ignorance is glorified. A world where propaganda and misinformation travel the airways at the speed of lies. But in the midst of the violence and chaos, a great awakening is taking place. And as the media empires continue to collapse, a new network is forming. A network of truth, a network of courage, a network of awareness. Peace and greetings. You are now tuned into the Network of Awareness podcast radio station, where we examine current events, politics, health, finance, and topics of cultural relevance in America and throughout the world, while bringing you insightful interviews with guests that will both educate and inspire you. And now, your host of the Network of Awareness podcast radio station, ORRA the Informationalist.
Peace and greetings, people. This is ORRA the Informationalist, and you're now tuned into the Network of Awareness. And this is episode 33, baby, of season 5, which is graded in the standings. And this episode is it's gonna be a doozy. This one is called BeAware of Lower Nature Women. And I haven't done an episode about women in a while, because usually when I do an episode about women, it's about the narcissism series. And even though what I am going to talk about has somewhat to do with narcissistic women, it really just has to deal with wicked women. I'm going to bring some scriptures into this episode to describe the wicked women of the world. But we're going to talk about the lower nature women that are out here these days. And this episode is not just for the men. This episode's for women too. Because you women that are right out here, that are trying to live your life in a righteous manner, especially according to the laws of the Most High, pay attention to this, because I feel for women these days that are good women, because it's hard for them to find faithful friends when it comes to other women. And I feel for the men that have to learn the hard way or never learn at all when dealing with lower nature women. But lower nature women are out here like water. I mean, literally, like when it rains and it rains all around you and the water drops are hitting you, that's how many lower nature women are out here. It's an epidemic. But we're in those days and times. You know, the scriptures talks about it. You're seeing it in the world. Many people are giving it different names, like narcissism and all that, because what narcissism really is just evil people. Usually when you're dealing with a very narcissistic person, they're just very wicked. And you know what's the sad part is that all of us that live here in this world, and I mean literally 99.9% of us, have some form of narcissism. Not because we want to, but we need to in order just to survive in this treacherous world. So we're going to talk about that right now. So why don't we get the show started? Shall we?
The informationalist. Please just tell me happening to me in plain English without the mumbo jumbo.
You are now tuned in to the network of awareness.
How you doing? How you doing? How you doing?
All right. How you doing, people? I hope everybody is having a wonderful Friday morning. Grand rising to all my brothers and sisters. I am recording this early Friday morning, so you will be hearing it in just a little bit. My schedule's been really thrown off, so for the people that were expecting to get episodes at 7 a.m. Monday through Thursday, my whole schedule just went off, and there's certain things that I'm trying to get in order when dealing with family and things according to that. You know, it's very important that we stay control of our emotional well-being, because if we allow our emotions to get out of whack, you know, it could lead us down some dark paths. And I could tell you that this week I almost went down that dark path with a family member, and it's not good. It's not something I'm proud of, or I'm even, you know, I'm a little disappointed that I had to go there, but I'm not going to beat myself up. Sometimes things are meant to happen in a certain way to let you know what you need to be doing and what you need to do moving forward. So I do apologize for those that were expecting shows Monday through Thursday. I did release an episode yesterday with Brother Hashiag, and I'm going to make up for the 2 episodes, which is this one and 2 others that I'll be releasing later today, and one on Saturday morning. But let's get right into it, right? Because I'm not going to spend too much time on this in regards to beware of the lower nature women. And another thing too, why I haven't been doing episodes, in case you hear me breathing kind of funny, it's like my allergies. I don't know what it is, but there's been a lot of chemtrails out here. And whenever there's a lot of chemtrails, it's like my breathing and the allergies just flare up. Even my dog is sneezing a lot, which is kind of weird. But hey, our air is polluted, people. It just is. And I just noticed whenever I see a lot of chemtrails in the sky, my allergies flare up. And it is what it is. You know, I have to sometimes blow my nose a lot. Sometimes I start wheezing and stuff like that. So it is what it is, people. The air is polluted, right? So we're just in those days and times where Satan is really trying to, you know, pollute everything all at the same time. And it's been like that since 2020. So I hope that everybody's having a wonderful Friday, and thank the Most High it's Friday, right? So let's get into it. I'm going to tell you one of the reasons why I decided to do this episode today is because when it comes to social media, right, as some of you may know, the only reason I got into social media was because of my podcast. And I decided that, hey, I'm going to promote myself on social media because it's something that I was advised to do before I even started podcasting when I got coaching. And it's something that's still advised, but they keep telling me to not focus too much on it. So I'm going to start falling back a little bit and start putting my attention elsewhere when it comes to podcasting and marketing. But I would be lying if I tell you that I didn't enjoy a lot of the information that I get from brothers and sisters on social media, especially TikTok, because TikTok, it seems like, and this is just a theory, but it seems like with TikTok, because it's run by China, China's like, I guess, likes people like me because I'm so anti-America. And I'll say it again, I'm anti-America. You know what I'm pro? I'm pro Most High. I'm pro Heavenly Father. I'm pro that which is and always will be. I'm pro being a spiritual being having a physical experience. Now, even though my family is from Puerto Rico and I grew up in the Bronx with a bunch of other Puerto Ricans, and I do appreciate the culture that of the Puerto Rican culture, and you know, we're just saying words like Puerto Rican because those are all social constructs. And I know a lot of you people don't like hearing that because you're so stuck on race, actually thinking race is real. And that's what's going to be a lot of people's downfall. A lot of these people that are stuck on race because they've been socially engineered and conditioned to be like that. And if you ever meet somebody that's really stuck on race, they're always going to be limited. Always. 110 times out of 10, they're always limited. But I don't look at myself as a Puerto Rican man anymore. I just don't. It's not something I subscribe to. I appreciate my culture. I love the culture. And I love a lot of the people that come from the culture, but I don't identify as that because I know what I truly am and I know what I'm not. And I'm not what the forces that, and I heard this lady say the forces that shouldn't be. And I love that statement because I'm going to start saying that. The forces that shouldn't be, because I heard that on Instagram. And I'm like, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. Instead of saying the forces that be, we should start saying the forces that shouldn't be. And the forces that shouldn't be have conditioned us to think this way. And it has conditioned our women to think a certain way. See, this whole liberalism and liberal movement and Me Too and all that, it's all been socially engineered and conditioning women to become very callous, very malice, very uncompassionate, very selfish, very unempathetic, and just very irritable. And a lot of women have attitudes these days that are so disgusting that I just have no tolerance for it. You know, there's several women that have crossed my path in the last several years that I've just cut off, where I just know what's not good. You know, I've even met some really good women that, you know, to a certain degree, they're very kind and they're about their business and they have a lot of good qualities, but then they have that one quality that messes it all up. And a lot of it has to do with trauma that they haven't gotten over. So they're always looking for something and they're always trying to, you know, you have a lot of women out here that want to be in the word and that they want to follow the Most High, but they can't seem to get rid of that cardinal nature in them. They can't seem to get rid of that. And another fun fact, if you didn't know, women talk more about sex than men do. I'm going to tell you this again. I'm going to say it again in case you didn't hear me. Women talk way more about sex and think about sex way more than men do. Okay? That's just a fact. And no matter how much, if you're a man that's trying to get to know a woman and you approach her respectfully, she's going to find a way. And I'm not saying all, but most will find a way to bring it right back to that. Now, with that being said, let's talk about these lower nature women because they're all over the place. And they have all different types of personality types. You got the women that are just ratchet and don't care. You got the women that operate like covert narcissists and always playing the victim card and woe is me and everybody's against me. And it's like when you meet a woman, people that, especially to my men out here, if you meet a woman that is always got problems with other people, not even just men, but just got problem with women, with men, this one did this to me, and there's a pattern there, chances are there's something wrong with that woman because not everybody can be against you. Not everybody's going to be giving problems. Not everybody's not going to like you. You know, the way I live my life, I don't have a lot of drama because I'm not a messed up person. You know, I'm pretty decent when it comes to how I treat people. So you're not going to hear me talking about, oh, this one, that one. Now, I will tell you that I didn't really think I had a lot of haters until situations from last year arose where one man tried to demonize and slander me, right? There's a man who has a podcast and his name is Federico, and he was just talking so many lies about me. And then people just jumped on the bandwagon, and actually people that got to know me that I never did anything to, that I was nothing but kind. And it was a great experience because it made me realize people are really ratchet. People ain't about nothing good, you know, and I'm not going to be cursing on this episode. I'm not going to be cursing on a lot of episodes, people. My rating right now is clean and I'm trying to keep it that way just because there's really no need for me to be cursing a lot. And that's another thing I noticed, that when I would do shows, when I'm like blah, blah and cursing and really criticizing people on a real aggressive level, oh man, you'd be surprised the amount of people that want to hear that type of dialogue and rhetoric and hear that type of conversation. They love it. They love that type of drama. I noticed it when I had my shows where I was just going off the handle. Oh man, the downloads for those particular episodes was amazing, but that's not who I am. I don't like getting upset, but whenever I get into, you know, that angry aura mode, it seems to attract a lot of attention. But to the core, that's just not who I am. I'm a peaceful man, and I value peace of mind more than anything. But we live in a society, especially here in the United Shenanigans of America, where people love drama and people love being wicked. They enjoy it. They embrace it. And they show it in their actions every single day, people. Every day. And that's why it's hard to live here. But let me go back, because there's so much to talk about. And I don't want to lose my train of thought here, because I'm not, I don't suffer from ADHD or anything like that. But going back to TikTok, see, this is my theory. Because I'm so anti-American, I think that China likes what I'm doing. And that's why my algorithms for TikTok it's just consistent and it's constantly growing. I don't do any special promotion or advertisement, which eventually I'm going to do. When I have the money to invest in advertising on social media, I'm going to put a couple of $100 here and there, into that. But people, no money, my TikTok is growing. I'm just about to hit 2,000 followers in just a couple of months. And I almost have 20,000 likes. All right. So there's something I'm doing right. And I think it's just the content, because I think what's happening, and this is my theory, is that China likes when you're anti-American. When you crap on this country, they like that because that's what they want. That's why they promote these women that are very ratchet and showing their bodies. It's this sickness. Okay. This sickness is a syndrome with women, with posing damn near naked. And I'm going to tell you, like, literally naked, but without actually showing nipples, without actually showing pubic hair or their vaginas, but they pretty much show everything else. And if it's in a bathing suit, it's allowed. And I know this because even on Instagram, they're doing the same thing. But I think because since I talk about all of the corruption here, and I reveal Satan's wicked ways, which is what the corruption is, I get a lot of burn and a lot of likes and views, and get my content out to the right people that want to receive that type of information, which is beautiful. So thank you, China, for that. But eventually none of this is going to last, right? That's why I'm really going to be focusing on privatizing everything. Like, really, just everything is eventually going to be subscription based. These podcast shows that I do, they're going to be very limited because I can't really truly be my authentic self 100% on the podcast. But I do what I can because I know that it's important to keep this going. But I am going to focus a lot of my attention on my subscription based for people that really want this high quality information that's not going to get censored or shadow banned. Because even though I have words like the science appliance, and, people tell me, man, that's cool. That's one of the best names I ever heard. Yeah. And I own that. I don't have a trademark on it, but I came up with that. Nobody can say that they heard that somewhere else, but at the network of awareness. But honestly, people, and I'm compelled spiritually to tell you that I'm tired of walking on eggshells with this virtual government. I really am. I'm going to keep doing it because I do this for the Most High, and this is spiritual warfare. So we got to do what we got to do. But I want to be able to speak freely. All right. And I want to be able to speak freely on podcasting specifically, not just on TV channels, but specifically on podcasts, because podcasting industry is growing. But when it comes to these women, back to the topic at hand, be aware of lower nature women because they're all over the place. I'm going to give you some examples because this thing, man, sometimes I'm just like, it's just amazing. And it seems like every time I post stuff in story on Instagram, I post stories, and all of a sudden, when I post these stories, there's women that start following me, and they were doing it on TikTok, and then it stopped. And I'm glad that it stopped. I even put out a video asking for advice on how to get these women to stop messaging me, to hit them up on their WhatsApp. Because that's what a lot of these women are doing. Some of them are trying to get money out of you. Some of them are just straight whores. They're sluts. They really are just looking for sex. And they're doing it on Twitter too. So I'm going to get to that in just a moment. But I'm just going to give you an example here of what I'm talking about, because this stuff right here is just, it's one of those things where if I was a whoremonger, if I was a man that was looking to sleep with a lot of women, which I've never been like that, And I could tell you that even when I was juggling a lot of, around a lot of women when I was very young, when I was in my early 20s, because that's the only time I really was very promiscuous, is it's stressful. It's stressful trying to maintain a lot of different women and all that. It's not an easy job. And it's not very rewarding spiritually. You know, now that, you know, I'm older, I understand that you're not supposed to be sharing your spiritual essence with a bunch of different people all at the same time. And if anything, you're supposed to be sharing your spiritual essence with somebody that you're going to be with long term, i.e. your wife. And the only way you get to know if somebody is wife material is by being their friend and getting to know them spiritually. And I had that really impactful show with Brother Aqua discussing that, how to develop a faithful friendship with a man or a woman through the scriptures. The scriptures gives you great insight into that. It gives you great information. And the Most High is giving you that information on how to go about that. And that's the way that it works. When the Most High has his hands or blesses something, it's going to work. But when you try to do it in the world's ways, in man's ways, it never works, people. There's always going to be drama. And I don't care if it's somebody that's been in that same relationship for 20 years. There's people that have been in a relationship for 20 years and that relationship has been toxic for 20 years. And they've just accepted it for that. But you know what? That's not how it should be. But these are some of the things to be aware of when dealing with the women these days, because the women these days are so hypersexualized that it's becoming an epidemic. Now, there's a woman by the name of Nancy Jackson 2UX3408. Another harlot, right? And beautiful woman, right? And she's got a picture of her butt sitting on a tree stump with her hands in her hair, and she's got a G-string on. What's interesting is that these pictures are actually allowed on Instagram, right? Then she's got another one where she's laying down in her bathing suit. She's got a whole different color hair. She's got a nice scenery in the background of some mountain range with a lake, and she's got her ass puffed up in the air with another G-string on, you know, and yes, she's got a nice body, beautiful lady, you know, she looks like a white woman. And it says, check the link. I need a boyfriend. It's got a tier. And then it's got that bit.ly. And that's what I'm noticing. These bit.ly. Whenever you see bit.ly, brothers, just block or do not accept. Because all that's going to do when you click on it, and I'll click on it just for educational purposes. And this is happening a lot, people. When you click on it, it says Bumble, you know, FUCK warning. Okay. So now Bumble has gone to the whole, you know, sex thing, like Facebook. They have a face or I forgot what it's called, Tinder, all these different apps to go have sex. It says this site has naked pics of women you may know. Do you wish to proceed? And then you have to press OK. So that's where it leads you to. That's where Nancy That's where Nancy Jackson wants, I guess, me to go to if I look on there. But she didn't invite me. Like sometimes in TikTok, they'll invite me to their WhatsApp to lure me in to have conversations with me. And there's another one, Joanne Neyoung, with a bunch of numbers and all that. She did the same thing. Send me a story. Now, this Joanne character, I got to tell you, this Joanne character, she's been rocking with me for a minute. Like, I don't know how she finds me. Sometimes I wonder if this is my ex playing games, trying to see if I'm going to respond to some fake account. That's what I'd be thinking, because these narcissists are wicked. And I'm going to talk about her in just a moment, right? Because I haven't spoken about her in a while, which is good because I don't even think about her anymore. But I do remember the treachery. Now, something else I want to talk about when it comes to Twitter, right? So on Twitter, I don't know what happened. See, and this is what I had to learn, is that I was kind of foolish in thinking that if somebody follows me, I should just automatically follow them. So that's what I would do when people would start following me and I'm going through my social media. I'm just like, follow. But I don't do that no more because I learned my lesson. Because sometimes, and this happened to me on Twitter, I followed the wrong person. And now I keep getting these types of messages where it has women from around the world posing in lingerie, in regular clothes, sometimes half naked, sometimes fully naked with see-through clothes. Really attractive women too, women that if I saw in the street, I'd be like, wow, that's a really beautiful lady. You know what I mean? But I'm not going to be lusting over her. But the problem is that many of our men here in the world, especially here in the United States, they're lusting on a level that is uncontrollable, or at least they can't control it because they don't have the Most High in their life. They're not really seeking anything meaningful. They're literally trying to get sexual pleasure and they're feeding those cardinal desires. So I'm going to pull up my Twitter account here and I'm just going to This is insane too, people. This is insane because I'm trying to pull it up here. I'm trying to see where it's at. Where are you? It looks like it disappeared here. Let me see if I could just pull up Twitter and maybe get it that way because it's important that we understand these things for what they are. Yeah, I'm trying to find it now. Of course, when I'm trying to find it and I had it up, it's not there anymore. Let me go to my notifications. Maybe it'll pop up there. No, it's not on the notifications. Of course, when I thought it was in my notifications, it was there, but it's not there now, which is fine because I wanted to read the comments. So what winds up happening, right? I pretty much remember anyway, so I'll tell you what happens. They'll say, I need a boyfriend. I want somebody to love me. How do you think I look? What would you do to me if I was in front of you right now? All these different types of one-liners, these taglines, right? To lure you in. It's like a call to action tagline. And then what's crazy is that you see thousands of men like, oh, baby, here's my number. Oh, I know what to do with that. I know this. Or, yeah, you look good, mama. All these. And I'm just reading these things. And I'm just like, wow, man. Now she's getting all these attentions. She's getting all these followers. And I'm guarantee you that a lot of these men that she's probably looking to see, she's probably looking to see who's the dumbest. And what I mean by the dumbest, who's the most cardinally driven, who's the horniest, who's the most desperate. Because that's the one she wants. And she doesn't, she has, it's like a police officer out here, a traffic officer looking for people to speed out here in Florida. It's not hard at all. You can sit on any major highway and you're going to catch a lot of people speeding. All right. It's probably one of the easiest jobs to have out here. And I know my people in Atlanta know the same thing. Because, Georgia and Florida, boy, they drive crazy. But they're seeking these men out and then they'll shoot them a message like, hey, I'd like to get to know you better. And then they put their WhatsApp or whatever, the link. The desperate man sees that they're actually, having some text message and then they lead you to an app. Then next thing you know, you can watch them undress and the man is going to do whatever perversion behind the screen that he can possibly do. And especially men that don't know how to talk to women, especially men that are not considered according to social standards as being attractive. And all praises to the Most High, I never had that problem. I always had women seeking me out because I'm considered to be a very attractive man. And I've always had women seeking me out. When I go out these days, I still have 25-year-olds, looking at me and flirting with me and stuff. And I'm about to be 45. But I don't let that get to my head. I'm just saying this for the purpose that I'm grateful that I never had to be desperate to try to get a woman's attention. But there are men that are. There are men that are super overweight. There are men that don't take care of themselves. Just look all different types of ways. So women, are not going to typically look at them or want to have something with them. So they feel like they have to do other things. These are the types of men that, they wind up getting a lot of prostitutes too in order to have sex. Instead of, just doing it the right way. And women know this. So what happens is these women on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, they lure these men in. But what I'm realizing is that women, because of these opportunities now for them to make money without having to actually do any real work, and they now can be what I call the digital prostitute. A lot of women are looking at that and saying, hey, why don't I do that? I'm attractive. And because a lot of them are narcissistic. They just love attention. Most women love attention. It's very hard to find a woman that doesn't like a lot of attention, because most of them do. They're kind of built that way, to be honest with you, especially the American Western civilization culture. I shouldn't even say American. The Western civilization culture has socially engineered women to become like this from the moment they come out the womb, and the way that society raises them, not their parents, but society. But of course, the parents, usually depend on the mother is, or maybe the aunts and the grandmother. Maybe the grandmother was a slut too. And I know all those things play a factor, but essentially Western civilization culture caters to making the woman become a harlot. It creates them. And what you're seeing right now on all these social media handles is these women say something like, I need a boyfriend, post up a picture, and then they're getting thousands of views and comments and numbers and all that and responses. And then they'll seek out these desperate men to try to get money out of them. And even if the man is attractive, they'll probably sleep with him so that they can get sexual satisfaction. It's happening all the time. I remember that when I had started doing online dating way back when, the very first date that I went on, the woman wanted to give me sexual pleasure. And I wasn't even looking for it. I had a nice time with her. We went out to eat to this Italian restaurant, and it was a sister. It was a black woman. And I was very respectful. I spoke to her for about a good month on the phone, consistently, and everything was great. Had some nice, meaningful conversations, and then we go out on a date, and then next thing you know, I go to drive her home, and when I drove her home, I didn't walk her to her door, I just didn't. But this is what happened. When I dropped her off, or when I thought I was going to drop her off, I had went and got some coffee before I dropped her off at like some 7-Eleven, because I knew I had like a 45-minute drive, and it was pretty late. So I didn't want to be sleepy at the wheel. So I wanted a little caffeine in my system to charge me up, make sure I stay awake and don't fall asleep at the wheel, because I've done that several times and gotten into some bad accidents when I was younger. And I told her that. And, when I dropped off, she's like, why don't you come in for a little bit and have some of those, drink some of your coffee with some cookies, and then you can go. And I was very naive, because I was single for a while, just started dating again, right? Just because, I was going through a lot of, I don't know if you want to call it depression, but I was going through a lot of depression because my nephew's deaf. So having to take care of my daughter and all the trials and tribulations I went through with my daughter, and trying to raise her after her mother messed up her mind, and all these different things I went through. So once I finally felt like I was ready for dating again, this was my very first experience. So I'm out of the dating game for a while, people. I'm out of the dating game. I'm not understanding what's happening here. So I'm like thinking nothing of it. But when I go into her apartment, not even within 5 minutes that I'm starting to drink my coffee and eat some cookies, she was trying to give me the cookies, and she just got on me and was asking me what I want to do. And I did engage in some activity, right? Because I went with that cardinal feeling, and a lot of men do that, and I was no different. I didn't have intercourse with her, but we did other things. And, when I left out of there, she went a little crazy on me when I left, because she was like, oh, you one of those? You're just going to leave? I was like, it's like, I've been here for 5 hours. What do you want me to do? I got to go home. I got to go to work. And of course, that was just letting me know where her mental state was. And I think I spoke to her one more time on the phone, but I just slowly just dismissed myself from that opportunity, because I just knew that's not what I wanted. But I say that story to just let you know, you got to be very disciplined these days, because what I should have did when she invited me to come in, I should have been like, nah, I got to get home. I got to go to work. And I should have just stuck to that. And I could have avoided that whole entire situation. But I went in, and exactly what happens in those situations happens. And she wanted to, get some affection. She was desperate for it, maybe. Or maybe she just really just found me that attractive. And I think it was a combination of all that, because I think that when you are a nice and respectable man, a lot of women are attracted to that, because most men are not. Most men are trying to get sex. So when you're a man that's not looking for that, at least right away, because any man likes sex. Of course, I love sex. I think sex is a beautiful thing if it's with the right person, and if it's graced with the blessings of the Most High, as it comes to fruition. Yeah, it's probably one of the best things you can experience. But any other way, it's not good. And I think what happens is that when you are a respectable man, a lot of these women, they are more attracted to you because you're somewhat of an anomaly to them. You're not the status quo norm of what they're used to experiencing. So they want you even more because you're not wanting them. And sometimes it's an insecurity thing where they're like, am I not attractive enough? So they want to go out of their way to get you to want to desire them. And a lot of times that means that they're going to go above and beyond to try to please you in some type of sexual manner. And that's not the right way, people. But it's something you got to be aware of, especially you guys that are out here really respectable men and are not whoremongers. You better be aware because you're the target, okay? You are the one that's being seeked out. And that happened to me with my ex. I tried to approach my ex because I thought she was a woman of the Most High, and I tried to approach her respectfully, and somehow she lured me in. She lured me in cardinally. She started off respectfully, but it didn't take too much time for her to try to lure me in cardinally. And because I was very attracted to her, slowly but surely, she got me exactly where she wanted me. And then it was just a nightmare after that. Because once you submit to the flesh, people, it's over. Matter of fact, and we talked about this on a couple of episodes. Once you think about it, that's it. Once you start thinking about it, it's already over. It's the beginning of the end at that point. It's going to lead to something physical once the thoughts are there. And that's one thing that I had to realize last year was like, I used to be called rigid. They used to call me Rigid Reggie because I was very disciplined and not getting overly excited over a woman's attention. I was the type of man that, hey, we can talk, we can get to know each other, but I'm not trying to jump into anything too fast. And then they would be like, oh, well, why don't you let your hair down? Relax. Like, you're so uptight. And then once I stopped being uptight, I'm the one that got hurt. I'm the one that got played and a bunch of other things taken advantage of. So I say this to all you men, be aware of these lower nature women. Be disciplined. It's not easy, but it's well worth it. And it's something that I'm now disciplined back into. It's one thing about the old self that I'm bringing back, and I have. I'm very rigid now. Now it's like I'm very reserved. I'm not going to just be throwing myself out there like that. No, no, no. And the good thing with me is that once I see something, even if I am getting to know somebody on a friendly level and I start seeing some suspect behavior, I'm out. I'm not trying to get caught up in anything that's going to lead me astray. I'm not going to get caught up in something that can cost me my life. Because I could tell you that the relationship that I was in, that I thought I was in a marriage, could have cost me my damn life, people. It could have been a matter of life and death. And the Most High was revealing this to me, and I finally started paying heed to the messages. Because the reason I even got caught up in this, in these situations where it could have cost me my life was because I was ignoring what was right in front of me. And a lot of us do that because you can't get desperate. You can't seek a relationship in despair because you're going to get the lower nature woman, and the lower nature woman is not going to fulfill you. And there's a lot of them out here. There's a lot of pretenders. Some of them are in your churches. Some of them are, looking for a church to be a part of to ruin another man. Because, there's women out here like that too, that they come into these different congregations with a bunch of drama. And I'm talking about a boatload of drama. And they're just trying to find the right man to ruin. And they might not even be purposefully, but just their chaotic, sporadic, unstable life can ruin the man that is going to have affection for them. And these are the things you have to be aware of. When somebody's not right, just leave them alone. The problem is that a lot of times the most attractive women are the most toxic. That's why I'm like, I don't focus on looks anymore like that. I know what I like, but hey, if I find a woman that's not that attractive, but she got a good spirit on her, oh, you best believe I'm gonna stick to that. I'd rather deal with that because at the end of the day, I know she's gonna be right. But you won't know that until you take your time, because you have to be aware that most of these women out here these days are operating in the lower nature, and they know that a lot of men are doing that. But believe it or not, there's a lot of, it's interesting because when I used to be in court, with the baby mama drama when I was younger, it never failed. I always see the good man being played in court because the woman was wicked and toxic. And then the toxic man was not in court, or if he did, the good, righteous woman was always the one trying to accommodate him and not put him through the ringer. Or sometimes they don't even take him to court. So he just gets to live his life without having to pay child support. She's like, oh, I just want you to be part of your child's life, your daughter, your son's life. I've even seen it in situations where the guy lived up the street and the baby's mother lives down the street and he never sees the child until that woman winds up dating. Then he starts popping up again. Seen it so many times. And it's just the way of the world, especially here in American society. It happens all the time. But it doesn't have to happen with everybody, because I truly know that there are good women out here. You just have to have the patience and put your faith that the Most High will reveal that woman to you if you move accordingly, because most of these women are operating in lower nature. So you're not going to find a good woman that is taking a bunch of provocative pictures on a social media handle. And you see, but that even too can be deceptive, because my ex had a page like that she got rid of. Then according to her, she was more respectable now. So she only had pictures from the neck up until I started dating her. Then she started posting these provocative pictures and I questioned her on it. And then she stopped doing it. Then she just opened up another page. I was very unaware of these types of behaviors because I stood away from social media pretty much all my life. And you want to know why I stood away from social media? Because I already knew that there were going to be some psycho women stalking me, because I had women stalking me when I wasn't even on social media. So I was like, why do I want to even put myself in a predicament for them to know what I'm doing or where I'm at? And I never forget when MySpace used to be a big thing. I was at my friend's house and I just happened to be in his room and he was on MySpace and he took a picture of me making funny faces behind him. And next thing you know, I go to work the next day, and one of the women that liked me at my place of business that I used to go to, it was like a facility where a lot of different health insurance agents would go, and she happened to be an agent from another company. Very attractive woman too. But I knew that she was, I knew she was an undercover hoe, and I didn't give her the time of day. But next thing you know, she's like, "Oh, I saw you on MySpace last night." And I'm like, "Where?" She was like, "Oh, you was with your friend so and so." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, you saw that?" She's like, "Yeah." I was like, and that was just another confirmation. Like, oh man, I don't want to be on social media. But at the same time, I wish I was, because at least I'd be a little bit more educated, and understanding how this thing works. But at least I'm learning, because one thing I don't do anymore is I just don't follow back anymore. There's a lot of people that follow me on TikTok now and on Instagram, and I don't follow them back. Just like I don't follow this Nancy Jackson back. And, depending, if she would have sent me a message, I would have blocked her, because that's what I do now. Whenever they send me a message like, "Hey, this is my number, hit me up on WhatsApp. Oh, you look cute, blah, blah, blah," I just block them, because that's not what I want. That's not what I'm, looking for. I'm looking for, and I shouldn't even say I'm looking, because I'm really not looking, but I do want a woman that is upright. I do want a woman that is righteous. And I pray to the Most High that he blesses me with one. If he doesn't, so be it. But I will not get compromised ever again. That is a fact, people. And I'm saying ever again because I'm too old for that now. I'm too wise. I think this last experience kind of reassured me that whatever it is that I was doing before I got into this relationship, I need to stick to that and not question anything or disregard anything that's being revealed when it does get revealed, and especially when it comes to the cardinal desire of wanting to have sex or anything like that. Because if I do operate like that, I'm going to be in for a world of problems, and it's going to be worse than it was before. Because whenever you repeat a mistake, you only suffer from that mistake far worse than you did the first time. It's going to be far worse the second time. It's going to be even worse on the third, fourth, and fifth. And that's why you see a lot of brothers out here getting shot, killed, stabbed, poisoned. I mean, the list goes on how brothers are dying here because they made a bad decision in choosing a woman that wasn't righteous, choosing a woman who is not faithful to the Most High. And if she can't be faithful to the Most High, how in the hell is she going to be faithful to you? So let's read some scriptures, because Proverbs has a lot of great scriptures in regards to the wicked women, the lower nature women that are out here. So this is Proverbs chapter 21, verse 9. It says, it is better to dwell in a corner of the house top than with a brawling woman in a wide house. Now, the scriptures, one thing I love about the scriptures is that it's undeniable truth, that there's nothing new under the sun. This type of behavior has been going on for eons, for ages. That's why it's in the scriptures, right? That's why the scripts have been written, because this is something that men and women have been dealing with for a very, very long time. That's why I strongly suggest people that you read scriptures if you want to get an understanding about the way of the world and how things operate when it comes to good versus evil, when it comes to righteousness versus wickedness, when it comes to choosing the Most High opposed to choosing Satan, when it comes to living the life of in the way that the Messiah is, the life. Live your life like the Messiah, because the Messiah is the life, right? It's the life that we should live. And it's the life that brings, even though it brings suffering, it brings a lot of blessings. It brings a lot of peace of mind. It brings a lot of joy, and it brings a lot of wisdom. But when you're not operating in that light, you just get a whole level of darkness that you can't even begin to understand until you're in it. And then you wind up regretting it. So it is better to dwell. It says, is it better to dwell in the corner of a housetop than with a brawling woman in a wide house? Now, absolutely, it is better, because what this scripture is saying, okay, and I'm gonna try my best, because when it comes to the English language, people, it can be very misleading, but that's why you gotta you kind of gotta cipher it and see it for what it is. So when it says it's better to dwell in the corner of a housetop, and I read that means that it's better to be by yourself. And it's better to be limited in that than instead of, getting into quarrels and arguments with a woman in a wide house, meaning, having something that seems to be more with a woman who's basically toxic. So it's better to be in that corner by yourself in the house top, right? And the house top are those little like triangle things that you see. Sometimes you see them in the attics. It's better there to be by yourself than be in this vast space brawling with a woman, which means just basically arguing and being in, in constant turmoil and strife and all those other negative emotions that winds up coming from those types of relationships. So here's another one. It says, the evil woman is going down the wrong paths, seeking men to bring down. And that is so true, because that's what I experienced last year, people, when I thought I was married. I got, engaged and married to a woman who was literally seeking me to bring me down. And she was studying me heavily to bring me down. She didn't succeed, but she could have. She could have. If I wasn't a man of the Most High, she could have got me. But I woke up, the Most High was protecting me and gave me a lot of ways to get out of that situation, and brought a lot of people into my life to help me get out of that, and also already had people in my life to help me get out of that. So all praises to the Most High. All right. It says, for she cares nothing about the path to life. She staggers down a crooked trail and doesn't realize it. Proverbs 5, verse 6. So Proverbs 5, verse 6, where it says, for she cares nothing about the path to life. So true. These lower nature women, they don't care about the path to life, meaning the path to Christ, to the Messiah. That's the last thing on their mind. Okay. I know somebody who asked the sister like, hey, let's not engage in this type of activity. And she was like, no, but I do. I want to have sex. I want to do this, and I was telling one of my brothers like, yo, that's a telltale sign that that's not a woman that's trying to serve the Most High. It's just not. And they're just letting you know, but you got to have the discipline to be like, hey, that's right. I'm just going to step away and I'm not going to deal with that. Because if you let these women linger, it's only a matter of time that they're going to break you, especially if they're very persistent and they're very witty and they're very cunning. Because a lot of these lower nature women, people, They're very cunning. And this goes to my women too. My women that are seeking meaningful friendships with women. If you see that a sister is not right, don't keep her around. Don't try to help her. Don't try to save her. I think that's a big problem with us. We're always trying to help people. And it's good to be empathetic, but not be so empathetic to something that does not want to reciprocate, something that's not looking to change for the better. And that's the big problem, is that we see the potential in people, but a lot of times those people don't see potential in themselves. It's just like an alcoholic or a drug addict. You know that they can do better, but if they don't want to stop drinking or doing drugs, doesn't matter how much potential you see in them doing better for themselves, they are going to stay that way. And if you keep them around you, they're going to wind up compromising you and making, doing something to you, or doing something that's going to hinder your life. And sometimes it might end your life. So let's read this. It says, we'll read this again. Proverbs 5 verse 6. For she cares nothing about the path to life. She staggers down a crooked trail and doesn't realize it. So now, my sons, listen to me. Never stray from what I'm about to say. Stay away from her. Don't go near the door of her house. Bam. Telling you, the Most High is powerful, okay? The Messiah, I'm telling you, is so wise. Most High is telling us what we need to do. We need to stay away from her. See, I had to learn that lesson last year, to stay away. And that's what I do now. I used to do it before I met her. Then I stopped doing it, led me down that crooked trail, led me to almost my demise. And then I had to wake up, had to repent, and had to go right back into that discipline that I was in before I met her. That discipline now that I cherish, there's no words to express how seriously I take this now than I've ever had before throughout my 45 years on this planet. Okay. I take it so seriously now. So brothers, stay away from her. That's the best thing you could do. Do not let it linger. Oh, we just talk on the phones. Nah, don't even talk on the phone. All right. Just stay away from her. Don't allow her. Block her on social media, all that, because nothing good is going to come out of that. Okay. And this is not just coming from me. This is coming directly from the Messiah himself. This is coming from the Most High. This is coming from multiple different apostles in the scriptures that tell you this is how it should be and this is how it shouldn't be. You make the choice, right? Because we got that thing called freedom of will. So here's another verse that's broken down, right? In plain English. This is Proverbs 7 verses 24 to 26. It says, now then, my sons, listen to me. Pay attention to what I say. Do not let your heart turn to her ways or stray into her paths. Ooh. Many are the victims she has brought down. Her slain are a mighty throng. Ooh, wow. Let's look up throng, because I forgot what throng means, but we're going to look it up right now. So throng is a large, densely packed crowd of people or animals. It says fill or be present in. So let's go back. So it says, many are victims she has brought down. Her slain are mighty throng. Okay. So mighty throng, meaning that it is a mighty place to be filled or present in, an area, meaning her place, her area is mighty. Okay. Her company can be infectious too, in the sense that usually women like this have friends that are like this. Okay. Next thing you know, the friend is trying to sleep with you. Because I know with my ex, she had some really ratchet friends. To this day, she has some ratchet friends. I even blocked some of them on social media as well, so they couldn't see what I'm doing. But I'm pretty sure that she has some type of fake account that she's following me on, which is fine because, it's only more painful for her to see how well I'm doing now. And I'm only getting better, baby. And all praises to the Most High for that. That's why I love the people that I've had in my life for over 25, 30 years. These are some of my faithful friends. I have some really good people in my life. Not many, but enough. And I've met some really great brothers and sisters in the congregation that I get counsel from now. And I like being around people that are kindred spirit in the sense that they don't have that wickedness to them. So surround yourself with people that have that good nature to them. that are not operating in the lower nature, but they're operating in that life of the Messiah. They're operating in that righteousness. Because I could tell you that when you're in that type of environment, there's nothing to worry about. There's nothing to be concerned about. Things can just be. You can be your true, authentic self without having to worry to get compromised, period. It's all about the company you keep, people. It's very important, right? You hear a lot of personal development gurus and industry people always talking about the company you keep. So here's another one. It says, what does the Bible say about evil women? So let's see. It says here in Proverbs 21:19. And a quick thing too here is be careful with these women because they tell you these women are cunning. My ex was one of them where they will put scriptures on their pages of social media to try to lure you in. And it's okay because if you see a woman that's about scriptures, hey, that's a woman that I definitely say you should try to get to know. The problem is you got to pay close attention to when you're getting to know them because a lot of them don't live this way. When they're putting proverbs or whatever scriptures they put on their page, that's something you just got to be aware of and be like, okay, let's see what this is about. Because a lot of times they quoting scriptures, but they're not living the scriptures that they're quoting. They're not walking the walk. They're just talking it. And they're talking it to lead you astray so that you can build confidence in who you think they are, so that they can lead you astray. So be very, very aware now more than ever, right? Because we're just in those days and times. So Proverbs 21:19 says, better to live in a desert with a quarrelsome and, better to live in a desert than with a quarrelsome and nagging wife. So basically what the Most High is saying, like, it's better to be in a desert with no water and with the sun beating on you than be with a quarrelsome and nagging wife. And I know that for a fact because there were times where I wish I was somewhere else when I was around my quarrelsome and nagging wife. I wish I was at a desert instead. You know, I wish I was in a pit full of lions instead of being around that. All right. Here's another one. Proverbs 21 verses 15 to 16. It says, a continual dripping on a rainy day and a contentious wife are alike. Enough said. I don't think we really need to break that down because that is pretty much self-explanatory. It says trying to keep her check is like a stopping a windstorm or grabbing oil with your right hand. So think about that, people. It says trying to stop her in check, meaning like checking her, right? Modern day times, checking her, making sure like, yo, you out of order. Trying to stop that is like trying to stop a windstorm. So can you imagine going outside? Let's just say here in Florida, right? Where I live, and there's some type of hurricane outside, and I go outside and I'm like, stop blowing your wind, hurricane. That's what it's like to try to check a very toxic woman, a very evil woman. It's just not worth it, people, at all. Here's another one. Proverbs 25, verse 24. It says, it is better to live in a corner of a housetop. Oh, I've already read that. My apologies. I read that directly from the scriptures. That's why I'm actually reading it off this one site right now, just to make it easier so I don't have to keep scrolling back and forth. Here's another one. It says the wise woman builds her house, but with her own hands, the foolish one tears her down. Absolutely. That's Proverbs 14:1. So Proverbs, chapter 12, verse 4 says, a wife with strength of character is the crown of her husband. But the wife who disgraces him is like bone cancer. Wow. And you see, this is exactly what I was in. Okay. I had a wife that was a bone cancer. She was a plague. And when I mean a plague, people, I'm talking about a plague like just straight darkness. And it took me a while to kind of figure it out. And I think there was a part of me that I kind of figured it out pretty early on, but I disregarded it. I didn't want to believe it, and I was in denial. It wasn't because she was so good and cunning at deception. It was because I was wanting something meaningful. I was single for a long time, so I overlooked a lot of things that I shouldn't have overlooked because I became desperate for that love and affection. and for that meaningful relationship that I do desire, that I did want. But the Most High wasn't going to bless this one, no matter how bad I wanted it. It was not going to happen. Why? Because she was a wicked woman. And this is a great verse in regards to that. A wife with strength of character is the crown of her husband. And it's absolute. If you look at any relationship where the woman is upright, where it is a woman that is following the life of Christ, of the Messiah, of Yah, that's a powerful relationship. And that relationship is strong. That relationship is a beautiful relationship because that wife is her husband's crown, and he wears it stoically. He wears it gracefully, right? That crown, which is his wife, they complement each other through the grace and through the body of Christ in the Most High. That's just a fact, people. It's undeniable. I've seen it. I had a wife like that. Okay. I had a relationship like that. And what did I do? I messed it up. All right. And I didn't become a bone cancer. I just left because I knew I was going to be a bone cancer. I knew I was going to disgrace that relationship. So at least I did the wise thing and leave, and it broke her heart, and it's unfortunate because, when I look back on it, I said I shouldn't have did that, but I did. And I paid a heavy, heavy consequence for that. A lot of consequences because I haven't had a meaningful relationship since then. But then at the same time, I've succumbed to cardinal desires in relationships after that. Not that I've been in many people because I haven't been in that many relationships, but there comes a point in your life where you either do or you don't, plain and simple. And I suggest that we start doing. And when I mean by doing is that we do the right thing, right? Because it's the right thing to do. And the right thing to do is follow the scriptures in the way we're supposed to develop our relationships. We follow the wisdom of the Most High. We follow that life in the Messiah in order to be rewarded with great favors in life. Because if we try to do it any other way, this is what we come up with. Here's another one. It says, and this is the one that I just read. I'm going to read it again and then we'll go to the next. It says Proverbs 14 verse 1. A wise woman builds her home, but a foolish woman tears it down with her own hands. Proverbs 11 verse 22. A beautiful woman who lacks, I love this one. A beautiful woman that lacks discretion is like a gold ring in a pig's snout. Ooh, scriptures are powerful, people. I love women with discretion, but a lot of times these lower nature women, there is no discretion, right? Because where's the discretion of a woman that's constantly posting provocative pictures of herself on social media? Even the ones that are not provocative, even the ones where they're just constantly, showing themselves all the time, even if they're dressed appropriately and they're just, they got a nice little elegant pose. It's like, why you need so much attention? Where's the discretion? There is none because they're desperately seeking attention and they're getting it from a lot of men. And there are a lot of men that are looking at those pictures, lusting in all different types of cardinal ways. And that's why a lot of women that go on these dates that are operating in this manner wind up missing, wind up getting raped and a bunch of other things, wind up getting their bodies chopped up, right? Many times that we've heard that in the past several years of women going on these dates with men they meet online. And instead of really getting to know them, they wind up going to their house on the first date. It's crazy. Next thing you know, she's in a suitcase and she's all chopped up into different pieces after she's been brutally raped and sodomized and a bunch of other things. But hey, there's women that are doing this to men. This is why I'm doing this episode, brothers, because these types of women can get you killed. All right. And the same thing for you women. These types of men can get you killed. But we're focusing on the women today because I got compelled to do this because I'm seeing it so much on social media. These women with these bit.ly links trying to get you to get to their WhatsApp and to, see them on screen on OnlyFans and all this other stuff, man. That's toxic. They're wicked. And like the Most High said, stay away. Just stay away for good, right? No more benefits for the doubts. Here's Proverbs 5:3-4. It says, the lips of an immoral woman are as sweat as honey, and her mouth is smoother than oil. Ain't that the truth? These women got some cunning tongues, people. They can lead you astray without you even knowing it. See, I had a situation like this not too long ago, but I caught myself. I was like, wait a second, what's going on here? I was like, no. You know, because I truly believe that we need to be compassionate. If we're supposed to help our sisters out as men, we got to responsibly help them out the right way. But you got to be careful with that, because sometimes you could be wanting to help a sister, but she ain't right. You got to cut the help. You got to cut the cord and just be like, nah, we're good, because you're not really wanting help. You want a savior, and Christ should be your savior, not me. You know what I mean? And that's where you got to cut the cord. Another thing it says, but in the end, she is bitter as poison and as dangerous as a double-edged sword. Facts. And that is a fact, people. You know, the adulterous woman has a seductive, persuasive, and evil mouth, people. Always. Okay? I learned this tough lesson beginning of last year, end of 2021, beginning of 2022, and into the mid of 2022, and towards the end of it, to when I finally cut that relationship off. And let me tell you, it's the best thing I could have ever done in my entire life, people. It was one of the best decisions I ever made. And I'm grateful for the experience, because like I always say, even when it's bad, it's still all good. All praise to the Most High for that, because at the end of the day, you know, you're supposed to learn from these experiences, because whatever doesn't kill you can only make you stronger. Here's Proverbs 2 verse 16. Wisdom will save you also from the adulterous woman, from the wayward woman with her seductive words. There's a lot of women out here that are married seeking out men for sexual pleasure. When their husbands go out to work, when they're out on town because they work, whatever it may be. Well, sometimes, man, they come in to meet up with you while the husband's sitting at home. Stay away from the adulterous woman, brothers. It's so important. And, you know, there's so many different scriptures, but we're gonna touch on a couple more, and then we're gonna end this, because I think you get the point here. Beware of the lower nature woman. Proverbs 22:14. The mouth of an adulterous woman is a deep pit, and a man who is under the Lord's wrath fall into it. Absolutely. You only have yourself to blame, people, when you go with these types of women, because you will fall into a deep pit, and it'll be a hell of an experience to try to get out of it. And the Most High is not going to save you from that, because you're not in alignment with the Most High, period. See, one thing with me is that I was led down the path, but I was protected, because even in the process, I was still committed to the Most High. And that's why the Most High was very diligent in showing me. Right. And if you haven't heard, I talked about that dream where my ex saw that I was protected around light while she was being attacked by a demon, because she was the demon. Right. So she was going to reap what she sowed. And that was a marker, the Most High letting me know, that compelled it in her spirit to tell me about that situation so that I can get out of it. All right. And I did. And I'm so grateful I did. And I had to stop beating myself up that I even got into that relationship. And once I did that, I got a lot better. And I'm getting better every single day from it. I'm getting, I'm wiser from the experience. And, if it's in the Lord's will, if it's in the Most High's will to bring me a righteous woman that I can wear like a crown, oh man, I'm going to embrace it. But if not, so be it. Because I do this, I'm living my life for the Most High. And I'm looking to serve the Most High every single day. So if it happens, great. If it doesn't, that's fine. It's not something that I'm desperate for. And I strongly suggest that we as men, whether young, old, whatever age we're at, that whoever listens to this episode, seek your purpose in serving the Most High. Everything else will fall into place. And if you are meeting women on your walk, take time to develop a faithful friendship that can lead into a lasting marriage. Okay? Evil women have evil in their heart and terrible motives every single time. And a lot of these lower nature women, people, they're so selfish and they have nothing but terrible motives because they got wickedness in their heart. Some of them own it. Some of them know they're wicked and they know what they're doing. And some of them don't. Either way, it's not good. It's still bad. So this is Romans chapter 1, verse 26. It says, that is why God abandoned them to their shameful desires. Even the women turn against the natural way to have sex instead of indulging sex with each other. I'll read that again. Even the women turned against the natural way to have sex and instead indulge in sex with each other, aka, i.e. lesbian, right? And you got a lot of them out here that are switch hitters too, brothers. You got to be very careful these days. Let's not even talk about the ones that look like women are men and the ones that look like men are women. That's a whole nother episode for another day. Here's another one. Don't run after her beauty. And this is the big one because this is what happens on social media, people. This is what's going on present day in social media. A lot of brothers are chasing women after their beauty, but beauty is truly spiritual. It's in their heart. Okay. It's not in the exterior. You know how many attractive aesthetic women out here aesthetically that are attractive? There's so many that there's millions. The true beauty comes from within. It's in the spirit. It's in the mind. It's in the heart. This is Proverbs 6, verses 23 to 29. It says, for their command is a lamp and their instruction a light. Their corrective discipline is the way to life. It will keep you from a moral woman, from smooth tongue of a promiscuous woman, right? Don't lust for her beauty. Don't let her coy glances seduce you. For a prostitute will bring you to poverty, but sleeping with another man's wife will cost you your life. Can a man scoop a flame into his lap and not have his clothes catch on fire? Can he walk on hot coals and not blister his feet? So it is with the man who sleeps. Give me 1 second, people. I lost my page here. It is the man. Oh man. Okay, here we go. So it is with the man who sleeps with another man's wife. He who embraces her will not go unpunished. That's a fact. That is a fact. There's a lot of men out here that are messing with married women and they wind up dead and they wind up in poverty. They wind up destitute. They wind up in turmoil. They wind up in destruction, in despair, in depression. They wind up losing their way. So don't run after a woman's beauty, man, because it's going to get you caught up. Proverbs 5, verse 20, it says, why be captivated, my son, by immoral women or follow the breasts of a promiscuous woman? Why? Why be captivated in that? It's a waste of time, people. Turn away from that. It's not going to do you any good. This is where discipline comes in. This is why it's not easy to live in these days and times and be a righteous man or woman. It's a hell of a hard, but it's worth it. It gets easier with time. It gets easier with time. See, the problem I had was that I was very disciplined in this, but I got misled because I thought I was dealing with a woman with the Most High, and I disregarded once I realized I wasn't. I held that image in my mind, that false image, while in reality, she was showing me something completely different, and I went along with the cardinal desire, and I paid a heavy price for it, a price that I had to pay because it comes with the territory. That's why it's like, you fooled me once, but you damn sure ain't going to fool me twice. And when I don't mean just her, I just mean the lower nature woman now. The lower nature woman is not going to fool me because I've come across a couple. I've come across a couple of immoral women in the recent past, and I cut them off, especially ones that were claiming that they're serving the Most High. But then you trying to explain to them that this is how we're supposed to serve because it says it in the scriptures and the Most High made it clear as day. But they want to do it their way. And that's what happens with a lot of these women in the so-called faith. They want to do things their way. They want to be faithful, but in their way, okay, instead of the Most High's way. And those are the ones that you got to turn away quick, fast, because they can get you caught up, all right, with their promiscuous tongues, okay, with their cunning tongues. This is the last one I'm going to read for this episode. This is Proverbs 7, verses 8 to 12. He was crossing the street near the house of an immoral woman, strolling down the path by her house. It was at twilight in the evening, as deep as darkness fell. The woman approached him seductively dressed and sly of heart. She was the brash, rebellious type, never content to stay at home. She is often in the streets and markets and soliciting at every corner. Sounds like a prostitute to me, right? It's one of the oldest professions is prostitution since the days of antiquity, people. Stay away from these types of women. And sometimes they're not even prostitutes. A lot of these women are operating in the same manner that their Proverbs 7:8-12 is talking about on social media. Social media now is the new street. It's the new corner. It's the one that they're strolling down. It's the one that they are seductively dressed and sly of heart. This is where they get that cunning way about them. And through their pictures, they can seduce you. So don't fall for the traps, brothers. Don't do it. Stay away. So with that being said, I hope that this episode was edifying to our brothers and sisters out here trying to walk in the light of the Most High and his Messiah and walking in that truth in the life. And if so, stay disciplined. And if you're not, if you're in a situation where you're dealing with a lower nature woman, cut it off today, right now. And don't waste any time. And yeah, it's going to get ugly. Yeah, it might be a little difficult task to get rid of her, but it'd be well worth it for your sake. Okay. For your salvation. So with that being said, I want to thank you for tuning in to the network of awareness. And, when you live in the present, brothers and sisters, there's always an opportunity for a new beginning. And don't look for the light at the end of the tunnel, because the light is and always will be within you. Okay. So understand that, light up the darkness. Okay. Light it up and find your way through it. Understand that light is within you and find your way through the darkness, brothers, to salvation, because the Most High is within all of us. If we accept it, if we accept to live in the life of the Messiah, if we accept to live the life of Christ, of Yah, because without that truth in us, in our hearts, we're lost and we're sheep for the slaughter. All right. So I'm going to end this show with a song that I think fits this episode perfectly. And it's by my brother, my nephew, Take One. And this is called Solomon's Fate. Peace, love, and light, brothers and sisters. Barakatah, shalom.
King Solomon, however, loved many foreign women besides Pharaoh's daughters. Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Sidonians, and Hittites. They were from the nations about which the Lord had told the Israelites, you must not intermarry with them, because they would surely turn your hearts after their gods. Nevertheless, Solomon held fast to them in love.
Young or old, it don't matter. Pussy can make even a tough mind shatter. For real. Such a pity, but the truth is evident. Just look at all the evidence. Artificial intelligence got nothing on these fellas when they see a honey walking by. Who's a dime? She's got the whole nine, looking fine from left to right. But deep inside, you don't know she's a demon looking to take complete control of you. Just look at her smile. Your game and your confidence ain't the key here. Satan knows who's awake and who's asleep still. Gotta be in the spirit at all times. Never drop them hands, keep that chin tucked, always stay sharp as a knife. Beauty can be a trap, an unescapable spider web. If you get wrapped in it, you're dead. Think with your brain, bruh, not with your nature. When the war falls, pussy's not gonna save ya.
He had 700 wives of royal birth and 300 concubines, and his wives led him astray. As Solomon grew old, his wives turned his heart after other gods, and his heart was not fully devoted to the Lord his Yahweh, as the heart of David, his father, had been.
If it got the best of Solomon, what chance did you have? Made mistakes in the past, but I refuse to relax. If it wasn't for Yah, Ben would've stepped in the traps. I'm falling for a chick cause she got breasts in her ass. Looks are deceitful, but even more is the heart. The book's cover ain't enough to throw it in the cart. You gotta judge them by their labor, their behavior. If she hates the word of Yah, it's time to labor. Many men are slaves to the pussy. It's true. Do what I say and you may get a cookie. Got them dabbling in all kind of nonsense without conscience. He just wanna go home to get the bed rocking. Satan's busy in these troubled times. Give him an inch and he's certainly gonna take a mile. Shouts out to the 1/3. Don't let him take your crown. Walk with your head high, never down. Stay spiritually bound.
He followed Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Sidonians, and Molech, the detestable god of the Ammonites. So Solomon did evil in the eyes of the Lord. He did not follow the Lord completely, as David his father had done. On a hill east of Jerusalem, Solomon built a high place for Chemosh, the detestable god of Moab, and for Molech, the detestable god of the Ammonites. He did the same for all his foreign wives, who burnt incense and offered sacrifices to their gods. The Lord became angry with Solomon, because his heart had turned away from the Lord, Yahweh of Israel, that appeared to him twice.